All right, as you can see, this is the final, and this is a pretty big one. So I'll just go through as many files as make sense, and then probably skip over some just because, yeah. So first, like I mentioned in some of the previous videos, this is where I finally started using Spring Security proper. See, there's some red here, but this works fine. It's just some depreciated stuff and stuff you're not supposed to use. Yeah, that's depreciated, and then this is okay. It's just depreciated, but different levels. But it's fine for this. So this is basically how this is a say web security config. Basically, it's how you make it so that you have your own login index, those sort of pages. It's basically allowing what a non-logged in user can see. And if you don't have anything, it uses like a Spring Security default login page, which obviously you probably want to work with your own, or you want to, maybe you want to work with that, but in this case, I wanted to work with my own. And here you see some request matches. This is basically what I'm allowing for each person. So, uh, see the root, so login, index, everything in the static folder, everything in the CSS folder, and everything in the JavaScript folder are allowed to be seen by anybody, logged in or not. Then everything in the admin, member, and trainer folders can only be seen by admin, members, and trainers if they have that role. So uh, that's a pretty simple way to do it. And then the other stuff, login page and log out, and then log out success. Those three are just the basic elements, but since Spring Security has built-in versions, I wanted to specify that, oh, I want to use my version, and that's how you do it, the login, log out, and log out success. And then if you have the password encoder in here, I used it the last time, but if you have it in here, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it either, okay, yeah, it decodes a password automatically, but you still have to encode passwords. Comment save the day there. And then here you can see the on authentication success. So this basically just redirects a user to a specific web page depending on what their role is. You don't want a admin to be or you don't want a member to be directed to an admin page because that'll give like a 404 and that's just obviously not good web design. So in our controllers here, um, I sorted them a little better. See, I have all the gets first just because they're small, and then I have the bigger stuff. So this is also a get mapping, but see, you have the security context there to do the check, and then you have some other stuff. See, shifts, which is a list. So basically, I guess I should explain a little bit about how this works just from a non-coding perspective, just because it's so big. Basically, I'll use just the models to look through. So you have admins, which basically can do everything. Or they can't do everything, it's just tiers of um, priority in terms of features, I suppose. So admins can create accounts and they can manage trainer shifts. So it's like, you have an admin, kind of think of them as the boss. So they can add shifts for trainers, which are just, workers. And then trainers can add sessions to members, and then members can just view data. So that's kind of like the hierarchy there. So that's why this no shift stuff is because only admins can do that. And then see, that's why you have the main account, and we have a little if statement here for because uh, basically this should never go through in a wrong way, is what I'm trying to say. So they make a generic user, so the user is the members, the trainer, and the admin all inherit from it. So you can just make a generic user because you don't have to add a shift right away, or you don't have to add the um, inherited classes specific attributes right away. And then based on the role, it casts to a new trainer, new member, and then admins can't create other admins. So there's just this else just in case, which should never go through because you're doing this through the web page, and there's no way in the web page to make a user with a role that does not have that isn't trainer or member. And also role is just a string. I probably should have used an enum, but that's just the way I did it, and it's kind of hard to refactor. But just so you know that I should have done it this way, but I didn't. But then you have the classic, you set the username, set the password, set role. Then there's this user service to actually register the user. I'll get to that. But it returns a Boolean so that you can see if it worked or not. Then delete account, you know, it just uses a service and then has a failure there, so can't really talk about it here. Same with update member, and then add shift. Obviously you need a shift and then you need a trainer, and you get the trainer by the ID, and it checks if they exist. Then it sets the trainer. It's use the shift service to save the shift, and it basically just saves it the shift, and it sets the shift to the trainer, and it saves the trainer as well. So that was a bit of a mouthful. And then post, this is delete. Works how you would expect, and then change, which is it's post here, but it's your put mapping really. Then log in. I don't think, yeah, there's not too much to talk about. So here's just the pages, your gets. And then this is, your login page. So you have the is admin, is trainer, is member. So I'm going to have to scroll over a little bit here. And then it uses the authority to, based on the role. And then, you add the attributes, and then you return the index page. Oh, because this is the index page. Sorry, I was thinking login. That makes more sense. And then because these are for to make certain buttons appear or disappear depending on what the user is logged in as. So that's what all that's for. And then here you have your get mapping, or get mapping for login, which it uses the authentication to check if the user is already logged in or not. And member, yeah, nothing too much here, luckily. There's a lot in general. But you have the dashboard page, which is just the main page for this user, and then you have the sessions page, which lets you just view. And then trainer. Trainer is kind of the same as admin, except for they can't make accounts and they make sessions instead of shifts. So I'm not going to go too deep into that. Then I'll talk about this. I'll talk about the models relationships in general. So like I mentioned, user. Also, I use Lombok again. Uh, I didn't for I since this was a final and we got it pretty early, I started working on it pretty early, so this was actually my first use of Lombok. But anyway, user is pretty simple here. You have this inheritance, and it uses the inheritance type join, so that basically means that there's a joining table for anything that inherits from this. So there's an in-between table. And then there's this discriminator column, which basically makes a column in the user table so you can, if you're just looking at the user table, you can tell um, what you can tell between a member or a trainer and that sort of thing, and this is just the name of it. And so then, there's this is just the basic stuff. And then if I go to trainer, it has the discriminator value, so this is what it says um, what in the user table that this is a trainer. So it's basically just used so that, like I said, if you're just looking at the user table, you can still tell between users uh, or you can still tell between the inherited classes of users. And then here, see, since trainer has everything from user, since it inherits or it extends, um, then see, it doesn't have any of that extra stuff. It just has shifts, and then member is has sessions, and that's also why admin doesn't have anything because it doesn't have any special attributes. It can just do special things. And then repositories, not a lot to talk about there. I'm just looking through to see, but I don't have any special. Oh, I do. I have find by username and then exists by role. So those are, special ones I had to make, but that's it. So then I guess I'll go to runner. So what this does, it just runs in this case, I made it as a separate class just for OOP modularity. But basically what's in this run method runs at startup. And the reason why is because say you're in a new database, if you're not logged in, you can't create any accounts. So it runs this initializer, which basically just makes a default admin account so that there's always something in there that can work, or something in there that can make accounts so it's not, I guess, soft locked into doing nothing basically. And then member service. So I use services for all of these because in all of them except for no, because I have this or else kind of, but still in most of them I have you know, uh, I get something from a repository and then it does a little more on top of that. So I decided, why would I want to call, a service and the repository when I can just use the repository methods in here and then only call one thing. So that's why even though this seems pretty simple, it's still, this is just using the find all, but, it's still in here so we don't have to call on two things. And it still makes sense, it's a service, so get all members. That makes sense of a service, just linguistically, to me at least. So yeah, nothing to talk about there. So session and shift are going to be fairly simple, so I'll just do shift since I did that first and I kind of remember it more. So save, that's what I mentioned, where it just uses the repository method. Then we have update, so it finds it by ID. Um, then if it is null, it doesn't. If it says find, doesn't find shift with that ID. But if it's not null, then it sets the information and then saves. And then get shift by ID, that just says the URL's null, and nothing really else talking about there. And then the other big one is this user service because it does more stuff than you probably expect because the different users. So load user by username. So if user equals null, user not found, but then this is a built-in kind of thing with special logic. That's why it has the override, and this is mostly for Spring Security, so you can actually sign in and stuff. But then register user is where it gets a little more interesting because you find user by username, and you know it just has that extra check there, and it uses the validation util, which you'll see in a moment, to check if the password is good. So since it uses that as well, that's why it's in this. It has that little extra bit of logic. And then delete user by username, it has the extra bit of logic because you can't delete admins. Then update, same where you can't update admins and you can't update trainers either. And then save, I do it based off of, instance of trainer, instance of admin, instance of member. So that also has it's a little more than your extra or your standard save, so that's also why that's in a service. And then I talk about the admin, so validation util, it's just a separate class that checks for a valid password. And then we'll get into the website aspect. Like that was the code, the logic. Not going to talk about the styles just because it's too much. Or it's too much and it's not really relevant. JavaScript, this is just a little extra work, so this is only doing two things. We have a validate password, which in this I have the double password box where you have to confirm your password. That's just what this is for. And then I have this, which um, when you're setting a shift or a session, you put in like a time and a start time and an end time. And all this logic is just to make it so that the start time cannot be after the end time because it's a time and a date. And it also makes it so that, the start time can't be before the current time. Like the real life, it's 9:53, so it wouldn't be able to be before 9:53, just as an example. So I don't really think there's too much talk worth talking about here, just going through the code. Like there is stuff worth talking about. It's better, talking about showing it running. So I think that's what I'll do, but I can see there's kind of a lot, and it's just divided into folders, and then this is the root stuff, so anybody can access it. So I think I made it pretty, all of this in general, I think I made pretty readable, and everything kind of makes sense where it is. But see, now this is kind of similar to um, the last one in terms of style, just the different colors because I wasn't really worried about that aspect of it. So if I log in, it's admin, and then I'm gonna do this. And I think I did. Uh, no, I'm trying to remember. I don't want to pull up the. Okay, yeah, I got it right. And so first, I want to go back to the main page and see now that I'm logged in, the log in button is gone, and since I'm logged in as an admin, there's this admin button which takes me back to where I was. And then see, so you can make accounts and stuff. So it's divided into sections. So you can log out, and then I can't make any shifts because there's no normal count. So see, this is what you can do. So I'm just gonna make a member, and then I'm probably not gonna bother with doing the trainer stuff because everything I can really show, I can basically show it in this. So trainer or member, sorry, and then I'll put in a password. Um, just gotta think of one that'll work that I'll be able to remember. And this here is kind of what I was talking about, where you can't make, and this just corresponds to a piece of data that has that, role underscore member, so you can't make things that aren't members or trainers, but that was a good extra check to have, if you ask me. So success. So I'm gonna log out now. Actually, no, I want to log back in as admin because I want to show the shift. Or no, hold on, I gotta pause for a second. I have to make a trainer because I want to add shifts because it's a hierarchy. So admin can't do everything. It just goes down in terms of priority. So I'll show this, may as well since I have to do it again. Not a big deal. This video is going to be pretty long anyway. So and see, just change it to trainer, create account. Now I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go here, and then see the trainer automatically shows up in that list. So there'd just be nothing in that list. Um, if I went to this page and then it wouldn't let me submit because all the information can't be filled in. So I'll just do today's date, and then I'll show, so it's 9:57. I do 9:53, and it automatically goes there. And then I'll change this to like, let's just do 1. Oh yeah, because that was AM. So let's do 1. And then let's do um, a time before that, so 9:58. See, it automatically defaults to that because you can't do a time before the start time and you can't do a time before the current time since this is on today's date. So that's successfully been added. So I yeah, I can't view them on this page. So what I'll do, don't really need to show delete or change. That's pretty self-explanatory. So I'll log out and then I'll log in as that trainer, and then I'll just show the list there, and then that'll be pretty much it. Like I said, there's a lot of different things that you can do. It's just some of them are, I don't really need to show how to delete something. Like I said, pretty self-explanatory. And you know, uh, if you wanted to take a further look, I always have the repo of what I'm working on in the description. So, so yeah. So if I go to session, um, I might. You say I gotta remember how this works. So, just give me a minute and I'll actually go back because I might have been able to see it with admin. So yeah, I just forgot that I had it in the delete or change because you have to list all the ones that you want to change. And see, there's a delete button there that just lets you delete it, and then if you click on it, it sends you to the change. And you do have, like, because of how time leaf is a bit weird, if there's multiple trainers, it would list them all. So you do have to pick the correct one for that. But other than that, I think I got this working like perfectly in the way that I wanted. It's just that one little, not even a bug, just I guess an oddity. But I like how this looks. Just, delete. And then I might as well delete it since I'm here. See, it just lists out the information. And see here, you could even click on this if you forgot who it's for. And then confirm. And then if I go back there, so I go to here, and then here, see there's nothing there. So it just has to go back 2 buttons. But yeah, this is a longer one, but now it's pretty much it. Like I said, there's a lot more to this, but it's not really don't want to make this ultra long is what I'm trying to get at here. And I covered a lot of the main stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much it, and see you next time.